Okay, there we go. Cisco is coming in. Okay, now, my name is Kelly Sheen. I'm the district manager for the Trinity County Resource Conservation District and co-facilitator for the Trinity County Collaborative Group.
Jim Spear, co-facilitator for the Trinity County Collaborative Group.
Mike McFadden, recreation staff out of the Weaverville office.
Great, and I'll call on Carol. Pat?
Yeah, Pat and I are both here, Carol Fall and
Pat Frost. I'm keeping my distance from Carol.
yeah, he's trying to protect my germs.
Okay, thanks for joining us both. Laura.
Hi, Laura Broadhead, Assistant Field Manager for Recreation in the Reading Field Office for the BLM.
Thanks for being here, Laura. Susan.
Susan Molyneux, public member of the collaborative.
Is Ross joining us today?
He might be in and out, but he's got some other things going.
Okay, I'm gonna mark him as in.
Oh, okay.
All right.
I'll share with him.
Thank you, Susan. Let's see, Tara.
I get slower and slower at Zoom. It could be I'm getting older and my reaction times are not what they once were. Tara Jones, district ranger for the Big Bar, Weaverville, Yolabola, and Hayfork districts. Good morning, everyone.
All right, we got to count it all down, Tara. Thanks. Thanks for joining us. Let's see, and I think the last person that I see is Francisco. Would you like to give us your name and affiliation, Francisco? If you can hear us.
Yeah.
Can't have audio.
Oh, no audio. Okay. Everybody else is hearing us though, okay?
Well, yeah, we had a earlier thing from Joe that he didn't have any audio. He was going to rejoin.
That's right. I did see that in passing. All right, I have no mic. Okay, Francisco has no mic. Well, I know that Francisco is a reporter for the Trinity Journal. So, and I've been working with him on a few of the articles, an article that came out this week. So thanks for joining us, Francisco. Yes, and then Joe Stubendick was briefly on and then off. So we'll see if he gets back to us soon. But otherwise, I will turn things over to Jim.
All right, thank you, Kelly. Good morning, everyone. We want to just kind of do an agenda check. Any issues there or additions or modifications that we want to make to the agenda this morning? Not seeing any. And the minutes, collective memory for the last meeting, any issues there?
And I will apologize because last time I didn't catch the recording, was not going until about halfway through the meeting. So thank you very much, Carol, for your notes to fill in some of what we were catching in that first half of the meeting. Hey, Pete's here.
Pete is here. Morning, Pete.
Morning, guys. Good morning. Stranger?
Right. Minimal.
Damn, we miss you.
Okay, we're going to move on to follow-up items from our last meeting. And if you can see on that agenda, there's quite a few, and we'll just not sure if everyone's here that's going to be able to address these, but we'll take them up one by one and see where we end up. So first up here, we've got the Stewart's Fork boat ramp conversion to day use area update. So I believe at the last collaborative meeting, there was a discussion. There seems to be agreement from the full committee, at least, to support this initiative. And I believe in the minutes, it was reflected that maybe the way forward is to have some kind of a subcommittee established that would be comprised of principally NRA, maybe, or Forest Service folks, as well as rec committee members to help kind of facilitate this process. It sounds like it's a fairly lengthy process, maybe, with some degree of complexity with it. And I think it was suggested that maybe it would be best to have this subcommittee formed. So I'm not sure if that's everyone's recollection there in terms of that conversation we had a couple months ago, but just wanted to kind of throw that one out there and see if there's any comments regarding that concept or proposal. Nuts. Yeah,
Well, so
The items I brought up.
Pete's gonna go, Carol. Yeah.
Go ahead, Carol.
Oh, Carol's gonna go. Go ahead, Carol.
oh, well, I was just, given what's happening with all the Forest Service staffing and questions and stuff, I'm wondering if this is a lower priority item, that maybe we just, kind of put on the back burner, something for them to think about, but, not bring it to the top because they got so many other things they're dealing with right now. That would be my thought. I don't know. What do you think, Pete?
Well, the only comment I'd like to make is get briefed by the Forest Service to see what kind of constraints might go along with that change in use. Because I think we got to be somewhat careful what we do out there to take away any opportunities that the folks using a boat or ski-doos or whatever could complicate a change in use.
Okay.
So, and I'm with Carol. I think we could move it to the back burner.
Just table it for now.
And
Yeah.
when we get an opportunity and the Forest Service has the time to come in and brief us on what a day use constraints would have, I think it'd be the avenue to take at this time.
So Pat has a thought.
So a related comment more. So obviously the lake is up this year and people are already starting to use that boat ramp area. Is it going to continue to be closed and not generate any income? Do you know, Mike, or will the concessionaire actually run it, operate it?
Yeah, we had hoped to open it last year, but the window was so short, it didn't seem to make sense. So it went through as just free use at your own risk. But yeah, we would like to get it open this year and, generate some revenue for the concessionaire.
Great, thank you.
I think that's a great idea. People need to get used to paying for it. So that would just be my suggestion is, let the Forest Service figure out what they want to do there this year, and then maybe we'll bring it up in next year or something.
Sure. Okay. Well, thank you. Sounds like there's agreement there. Move forward on tabling for now. All right. Okay. Up next, West Weaver Creek Trail option. So maybe Laura, you got any update for us on that one? Watershed Center was working on some kind of report that would give some guidance or recommendations to you as far as that goes.
Yeah, we received finally that they had this done for a while, but it was tied up in the whole river restoration NEPA that the UROC were working on. So we have received the NEPA finally to do an admin review, and we'll be putting it out for public comment. So maybe in coordination with when we put it out for public comment, I can make sure to, you guys, the collaborative will probably get notice of the whole project, but the rec subcommittee, I can just direct you guys to that report to kind of look at what they put together. And then maybe we can discuss it after that. So hopefully maybe at the next meeting, we can have a productive conversation on kind of what's in the report. I haven't even looked at it yet. What's in the report and any recommendations you folks want to see come from that. So yeah, let's tentatively put it on the agenda for next meeting to have a little bit more of a discussion about. But if we don't get it out to the public for public comment period, before that, we'll have to push it again. I'm not quite sure on the timing.
Okay, very good. Any questions for Laura on that one? All right, I think we had some promise from I'm drawing a blank here.
Or what?
Monique,
Monique, there we go. Thank you very much.
No, yeah, Monique.
To give us a wilderness area usage report for the 24 season. She's not with us today, so does that mean we probably won't get that, right?
I haven't seen anything
Yeah.
from her about that,
Okay,
unless Mike got something.
Do not.
we'll move that one to next one. Okay, there was also a request for the Forest Service to give an update on this management transition from NRA to TRMU. So I'm not sure if there's anyone with us today from the Forest Service who can provide some kind of an update on that, where we're at.
I don't know
Tara?
if Joe managed to get back on or not, but I can tell you, and Mike and Joe are part of that committee that's been working together to make sure that we're ready to transition by the end of May. I believe all of those things are moving forward. We're on track to transition and begin to take on any new projects out around the lake will come to our unit. I think things are progressing on schedule and on track. Mike or Joe, anything to add to that?
Sure. Some of the things we've already kind of got in the works, juggling with Joe back and forth with stuff. We're probably going to be getting some new toilets this year, floating toilets to replace the aged ones we have. We'll be getting the Shasta Lake hand-me-downs, but they're better than the ones we have currently. And then we do have approved budget for getting a new patrol boat, which is going to be, instrumental for us to manage the lake properly. And with that boat, we're starting a new licensing program, and we're going to try to get a pretty good handful of people licensed to use the boat, both fire and recreation. And I've been talking with our LEO, and he's going to be trying to get a boat that is already purchased and sitting in at the regional office, and then rent a slip there so that there can be a LEO patrol boat available as well. So those are kind of some things that have been movement towards better management recently.
so the reason I asked about this was it's more who to contact. So, before when I had a question about the website, I knew who in the NRA to talk to. If I had a question about the campground concessionaire, if I had a question about, courtesy docks. So how do I find out who all the new kind of replacement people are when we're trying to figure out what's going on?
So Carol, we like to keep it pretty simple. You're going to be, if it's something related to recreation on the Trinity River Management Unit, you can either contact me or Mike. And then if Mike is your first stop, and then Mike will check with Cliff. And that will be just like Mike and Joe are equivalents. So it's where anything you would call Joe with, you'll call Mike with.
Okay, so but what about we had issues with public information, what was open, closed, the website. Who does all that kind of stuff? Do you have a new PIO, or is it still? Yeah, I'm just.
So our PIO information is generally at the forest level. You can also you can feel free to, and I know you have my email. You can always shoot me an email, and
I know, you're way too busy.
Or you can text me, and we'll make sure. But I do have Mike has access to our the same PIO staff that Joe had access to. So if something needs to be updated on our webpage or on our Facebook page, we will make those contacts starting from our side to the PIO staff.
Okay, because we've had issues in the past with the recreation guide, whatever the ROP not being updated, and the concessionaire's website being inaccurate as far as when stuff was open and closed. So okay, and then not sure if this is further down the road, but when do you put out, so the courtesy docks, I mean, are they going to go in on the same schedule as far as lake levels? They're
We don't have any change. Yep.
by lake level.
Yeah, the lake levels are projected to be full for most of the summer where we can use those docks, and we'll be putting them in as they're scheduled in the prospectus.
Oh, great. All right, I was trying not to bug you guys, but now you're telling me to bug you guys. Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else? Anything else on NRA to TRMU?
No, I just did want to thank Mike for dealing with the trees and all that kind of stuff out at Preacher Meadow. People are already noticing that you guys sent crews in there to deal with those, and people were very complimentary. So thank you. That was a very quick response. Appreciated.
No problem.
Very good. Okay, up next, invite Caltrans to future rec committee meeting. So it sounds like Kelly's got a report for us.
I do. I reached out to Joe McNeely, who's the operations manager for the local Caltrans office. And I asked him about the three main topics that we've been dealing with, including the turn pocket at Minersville Campground. And this is what he has written back about. Caltrans requires a participation in funding to add a turn pocket. Caltrans requires the other agency, in this case, I believe it would be the Forest Service, to pay half for a 4-leg intersection and a 1/3 for T intersection. These turn lane projects typically run for about $1 million. So at a minimum, they would be looking at $400,000 to $500,000. I also asked him about the bike trail at Stony Point. Unless we want to talk about that. Do you want to go point by point first?
I don't know if it's on the agenda though, so you might as well
Okay.
cover it if we got it.
Okay. The next point was the bike trail at Stony Creek. I spoke to District 2 permit engineer to obtain a bike trail permit on Caltrans right of way. It requires a minimum 5-foot width and it must be ADA compliant. If you want to pursue a permit, you can contact this person. Chris Heidel, 530-604-0387. And then the other one was the Stewart Fork Bridge, which we had talked about in the past couple of meetings. Also, that upgrade to the abutment, I believe it was. For the Stewart Fork Bridge work, including for the Stewart Fork Bridge, work includes repairing unsound concrete in the piers, repairing damaged anchor bolts, installing galvanized anodes, cofferdams, shoring, and temporary supports for pier repairs, and other miscellaneous items for work. This project was completed in September of 2024. So that apparently is done. So that's the reports I got from Caltrans.
Okay.
It'd be interesting to ask him, does that mean that all that rock then that's sitting on Highway 3 is no longer planned? Because it was being used for that Stewart Fork Bridge repair. Does that mean that it's not going to be used for that?
Where is it sitting?
Right on 3, right before you get to the bridge, yeah.
For Osprey.
Yeah.
Just before you get to the bridge?
Yeah.
Like headed north?
Yes, it's between Tannery.
Kind of on that turn, right?
Yeah, it's between Tannery and the Tanbark overlook.
I'll text him now and we can move forward, I guess, but I'll ask him about that. Was there anything else for those 3 items that we should inquire about?
He had mentioned to me when I talked to him briefly about what it would take to put a turn lane in, which is what you just conveyed.
Okay.
But that other alternative, is there something they could do on the district to take the material on the north side of Highway 3 right there at that intersection and relocate that. The only thing he hadn't looked at real hard was there's some type of utility box right there on the trailhead road that goes on up to the Alps. So, but that's a possibility versus 3, 4, 5 years down the road if we even had funding to, put in a turn lanes in there. So it's an alternative. We just need to check back with him and I forget what he called that, Kelly. It was some type of project that could be done on the district.
Oh, okay.
So it wouldn't involve Sacramento. A major realignment out there.
When I spoke with him on the phone, the other thing that he mentioned to me too was that typically when these sorts of things are actually requested of Caltrans, that they frequently have to do a traffic study that includes whether or not there's been accidents at that intersection that would justify doing the work. And he said that, he told me that they essentially have no records of accidents in that particular spot.
And that's my fault. I've been promising Pete that I would send that. We had an overturned van at that exact spot. They came around that corner too quick. They lost control and they rolled into that area where they're currently filling. So I can look up that accident, and that was a pretty serious one.
But is that related to whether or not there's a need for a left-hand turn lane at that intersection?
It's a pretty tight curve, so it's more like, people are kind of, it's the whole Highway 3 thing. But I think having a wider lane there would have prevented that accident for sure.
Gotcha.
They wouldn't have rolled over.
I think if someone were to apply for an encroachment permit at this time, there wouldn't be enough sighting distance and to the north there that would meet encroachment permit criteria. So that, was put in there years, 50, 60 years ago. So
okay,
the road down to the lake.
Gotcha. Okay, well, I'll share, I mean, if you're able to get that information, Carol, we can get those into the minutes, and then I can share that back with him, and then we'll see what he is able to do with that.
Yeah, because we even had CAL FIRE had to come up for that one. I mean, we couldn't handle it ourselves, so that was a pretty serious one. Okay, I will get that to you.
Okay, that'd be great.
Check with him and see what type of in-house realignment they could, not realignment, but removing some of that cut slope to increase the sighting distance.
Okay.
And see what would be done.
Gotcha. Yep, will do.
Okay. Anything else on that one? We're good. Okay, I think we've maybe addressed this one, the Trinity Lake Courtesy Docks updates. I think that was a request from the last meeting, just to kind of get an update on where things are at, Mike, and it sounds like we're on schedule, right?
Yes.
Normal kind of a
Wet year.
Well,
meaning we'll have docks where they're supposed to be, right? And
unless we start finding anchors missing and like, so good.
all right.
Yeah. I contacted Joe here probably 8-10 days ago regarding access down to Clark Springs, because it's more than up high enough to put the dock in and get it functional. The courtesy dock at Myersville was still up with the upper parking area. And that should have been put in quite a while back.
I'll check on that. I was understanding it would be on Memorial Day or sometime before then. I'll check on that. And if it's supposed to be in, we'll start putting some heat on them.
But I don't know why Clark Springs wasn't open.
So I guess that's a question, Mike. You referenced some kind of schedule.
Yeah,
It sounds like it might be more driven by lake levels that demands a response in terms of, or action as far as getting those docks in. Is it
It's pre-tiered. Wet years, the docks are supposed to be on certain schedule, and then dry years, different schedule, and some of them not at all.
Okay, so there is a fixed schedule.
Yeah, it's in the contract essentially with the concessionaire that we have.
Is that public? Is that information
I don't know if it's
made public?
sitting on my desk.
I'm sure people would like to know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, good to-
I mean,
Go ahead,
part of
Carol.
the issue is, so again, the recreation report that's online tells you when the boat ramps are open, and that's based on lake level. And then people are assuming when the boat ramps are open that there's a courtesy dock, because otherwise you're pushing your boat out, into the lake and stuff. So,
Yep.
there's a little bit of disjunct there. It's dangerous, I think, for people to be being told that the boat ramps are open, but oh, by the way, there's no way for you to safely launch your boat by yourself.
So we'll look
Yeah.
into that, this part of the transition, and we will look into the plan that's in place and see if that makes sense. I can tell you, we have to have some sort of a schedule, right? But Carol's 100% right, they should match, because we can't respond to the ever-changing lake levels. You guys know how often they change. It can't be in again, out again, in again, out again. And so, and we also can't leave them in when it's low, because we don't have the money to replace those consistently. So let us dig into that. Carol, I appreciate the lack of consistency. Appreciate that information. Mike and I will dig into that plan and see if we need to, you need to update it and what. I also know, I agree, you guys want to be on the lake, you want to do it in the safest manner possible. So let us dig into that and see what we can do, okay? But give us a little bit of time that's something in the transition plan, I think, that we've already started to look into, and we'll close that loop.
Okay, to agendize that, Tara, for next meeting, and you think that's an appropriate timeline, or?
Yes,
Okay,
Yeah, we can get that information.
because the public's already being charged $60 for their pass. And it's unfortunate that the lakes at levels that those ramps and docks should be in the water at this time. So, yeah, I don't know what else to say.
all right,
Yeah,
we'll get that on next
we'll look
agenda, and
into it.
Mike, maybe. Yep. Okay. That concludes our follow-up.
One thing, so the alternative
Go ahead,
there,
Carol.
Tara, is to make it clear on the recreation report that although the boat ramp is open, the courtesy dock is not installed. That might be another alternative, just because, again, people see that the boat ramp's open, and so then they're like, but I need to bring a second person to help me launch, if they know that there's no courtesy dock. So that maybe that's another way to fix this.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. I've got good notes about the lack of consistency, and current information seems to be a trend. So I'm tracking.
Very good. Okay, moving on, BLM updates. Laura, you have an update for us?
Yeah, hi. I don't know. It's hard to know what to even say. I guess overall, we normally talk about staffing. My recreation staff has so far been unaffected by the mass terminations. So that's great. But we're staring down another round. So who knows? The office as a whole lost 5 employees, which is a sixth of our workforce. So that's going to impact things. Currently, we can't use our credit cards, so we can't buy anything, can't buy toilet paper. In Shasta County, that means we can't buy Roundup to do weed management, which I know isn't a thing in Trinity, but it's a major issue down here. Our BIL funding to upgrade our campgrounds that was coming from the Bureau of Reclamation was frozen. So we are not proceeding with any of the work. That means the Junction City campground well replacement is not happening. The upgrades to Steiner Campground are not happening. Maybe those funds will be unfrozen and we will continue with that work, but we won't be able to do that this year because we're missing contracting deadlines at this point. We still plan on opening Douglas City, Junction City, and Steiner Flat campgrounds. We'll still maybe get them on rec.gov, but if there's a shutdown, that probably also won't happen. And if I lose any staff, then we'll probably close the campgrounds. That's my update.
Oh, gosh.
Thank you, Laura. Any questions for Laura?
Laura, I guess, and maybe this is just in general. Do we know if there is a shutdown, like when that would become effective?
Midnight.
Is that
I
tonight?
think it's
Monday?
Saturday night. Saturday night. So then on Monday is when we would do like our shutdown procedures. You know, in the last couple, they've told us to keep recreation sites open. And I think we would continue to do that. We would keep the bathrooms open until they get too disgusting, and then we'd probably lock them. Yeah, I think, I don't know that that's the plan, but that's probably the plan.
Thank you, Laura.
Anything else for Laura?
Hang in there.
Yeah. I'm just being honest, morale's bad. But you know, we'll continue and we'll try to do what we can. And I mean, I am lucky. We haven't lost any of my rec staff yet, so I shouldn't be such a bummer, but I am.
Okay, well, we have a new member present here, Monique. Well, good morning, welcome. You want to
Hey,
introduce yourself, Monique?
apologies.
Yeah.
I'm late.
Not a problem.
I'm Monique, Partnership Coordinator on the Shasta Trinity. Just sitting in today, and seem like and Tara are both present. So
Great.
Thanks for
you.
joining.
Glad you could join us, and I do not want to put you on the spot, Monique, but we did have on the agenda a wilderness, utilization update from 24 season. I suspect maybe that's not something you're ready to provide to us, or is that something you
No,
can
I have
pull out
that.
of your hat?
I do have that information
Oh,
right
wow,
now.
cool.
Because I remember we talked about that. So I didn't put it into a nice layout, I guess. But I mean, I can share my screen really quick and show
Cool.
you all
You're ready.
the use numbers.
You're welcome to share.
Let's see. Okay, sure. Okay. This is for 2024. So I'm just gonna break this down and I could send this out so people can see it. But every month is broken down up here, and then the total usage on this side. And then all of these are color coded. And the color code key is down here. And then
Look at you.
this color. I will give a shout out to our front desk personnel, our visitor services staff, who put this together. So Lillian did this, and so did our
Sugar Pine.
one of our visitor services personnel who's no longer with us, but Emma Lagoy. So just gonna give them the credit. I did not do any of this. And then our rec folks and trails folks collect the permits at the trailheads. So I'm just sharing the information. So here's the totals of all of the months, and then the total usage
Have you?
that folks had permits on. Um,
Sorry,
I'm hearing
folks.
background noise.
Yeah, there's a lot of background noise. I don't know where it's coming from, but
Yeah,
it's
that's your
making it really weird.
facilitators. We're sorry.
Oh, okay.
I'm
Sorry.
like, it picks up really well. Um, but our totals out on in the wilderness areas would be right over here. And this is for Trinity Alps, but I'm trying to look on the list to see if this includes any of the Yellowbully Middle Eel wilderness areas. And I don't know, Mike, do you see anything? It looks like it doesn't.
We don't collect permits there.
Okay, noted. Cool. So here's the total usage that we collected permits for, with the highest use time being in August, surprisingly.
Hmm.
And yeah, then you can see the highest used trails, totals on this edge right here. So Stewart's Fork was pretty popular, Swift Creek, along Canyon. Trying to find, and then Canyon Creek was
Oh,
the
wow.
most
Yeah.
popular.
They're always popular. Look at that.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Are
Which
those,
is,
these are numbers of permits, not the numbers of visitors?
I think they actually counted the visitors this time. So the people on the permits that mark themselves as having multiple visitors with
People on the
them.
trail.
But you know what? Let me go clarify and make sure, because I think that's a good question. But I'm pretty sure it was counted this time, whereas in 2023, I don't think it was counted, so it's significantly less.
Hmm.
Trail with permits. Okay, that makes sense, yeah.
It doesn't include day use, right? It's just the people who are going in overnight that need a permit.
Yeah, so if people are just doing a day use, they don't need a permit. But if you're staying overnight, then yeah.
Yep.
Um,
Well, that to me, I mean, just for the Forest Service, that really shows they need to expand the parking lots. Like Long Canyon needs a bigger parking lot. You can never park there, and there's no bathroom. You know, just long term thinking about those three trails: Long Canyon, Swift Creek, and Stewart's Fork going in. Well, Stewart's Fork has usually plenty of parking, but Swift Creek and Long Canyon, you know, I mean, people are parking way down the roads, and yeah, just something to think about as you do future recreation plans. That
Swift Creek in particular because of the Packers.
yeah, Swift Creek has all the Packers, so they take up tons of space, you know,
Yeah,
with the horse trailers.
we're aware, and it's something Sally and Mike have had on my radar for a while. It's clear that there's not sufficient parking for the amount of users we're getting, whether we had this cool spreadsheet, by the way, Monique, to look at or not. It's clear for everyone that goes out there, there's limited parking. So we're trying to incorporate some of those kinds of opportunities into our NEPA we're working on now. So thanks for bringing that up. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks,
So,
Tara. I get 0 credit for the spreadsheet. Shout out Lillian and Emma.
So at one time, I remember Sally talking about, get not only upgrading like Long Canyon with bathrooms, but a change maybe in how they're operated. It was like charging a fee for using certain trailheads. Has that ever moved forward?
We talked about putting some volunteer, what do you call it? Donation boxes in places. We don't really have the capacity right now to drain, Iron Rangers. And they become tweaker bait. So that's a obstacle that we need to work through. But part of the other thoughts with the parking lots is we would like to pave the parking lots and paint stripes, because it's not just insufficient parking, it's also poorly parking. And we're concerned with, emergency access with, if we have a fire or some other type of emergency that our first responders need to be able to get in and then not get pinned in. So, yeah, it's a big deal, and we're doing what we can with what we got. But you know, we're a big giant ship and it takes a minute to turn.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's great to have the data. Thank you so much.
Yep, that's good data.
Hopefully you can send that out to Kelly and Kelly can send it out.
Yeah,
Can
I'll
do.
send out, do you want this 2024 specifically? Because I mean, I can send out, I guess there's other data years here, but again, the 2023 is the permit numbers and not the personnel.
Yeah, just send the whole thing.
Okay,
That's great. Is there a note to that effect on that other tab?
I'll add a note if there isn't already, so that's clear.
Perfect.
And just for dirty math for the permit one, we run 2.6 people per permit is what we kind of think is an average. So
Mm-hmm.
if you wanted to kind of extrapolate it and put some voodoo math into it.
Gotcha. Great.
All right, well, thank you very much, Monique. That was very, very timely, very informative.
Mike, have the numbers increased over from 5 years ago to?
It's been a roller coaster, you know, the pandemic really spiked us. We had a huge amount of use and then we had those big fire years, which then really put it down. And oftentimes our use is very influenced on what's going on in the Sierras. If they're having heavy fires and we're not, everybody comes over here. So
that
it's
makes sense.
really variable. But I'd say across the board, yeah, we've had a steady increase for a long time.
I've been in here for 50 some years. And it definitely looks like there's a lot more activity.
Mm-hmm.
So, and rightfully so, beautiful area.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Getting back here on our agenda, so we are on the Forest Service updates. Tara, you wanna, well, let's go,
Actually,
no
let-
six
I'll let,
rivers, right?
Yep, I don't see anybody. I'll let Mike
Okay.
talk about the specific work we've been doing. We've been getting some good work done. Appreciate Carol the shout out on the Preacher Meadow work. So we've got what we've been doing, where we're starting next week, and then any big picture kind of questions I'll take care of.
So one thing that's been real handy here lately is we have a smart center crew has started. So we've got, you know, a supplemental workforce and, you know, bodies on the ground can't be beat, right? So that's who helped out a lot, Carol, with the Preacher Meadows, because as soon as we got them on, out they went and we did a lot of chipping and cleaning out there. We also did the same type of effort out at Hayden Flat Campground. A lot of trees that had fell down over the winter. Those are all processed now and the area's chipped. And also at Hayden Flat, we've got our electric box in and we're anticipating having the pump running this season and have potable water available for our campers there. We've got some cutting and chipping at Bridge Camp completed. Next week, our developer crew is planning to, with the Smart Center crew, to go into the Fairview boat launch area, which is, if any of you've been there, it's overgrown with Scott's broom. And so we're gonna most likely bring a tractor in there and pull as much of it as we can and then have the root balls cut off so we can chip the tops and burn the bottoms. And we're gonna try to get ahead on that. It seems like every time we do that, it just makes it mad and it comes back with a vengeance, but that doesn't mean we can give up on it. You know, we gotta keep attacking it because that's our option is pull. We can't spray. To what else? With the we did lose some staff, and we don't plan on closing any of our sites at this time with the current staffing we have. We're gonna have some reduction of services in places for sure because we've lost staff, but we don't intend to close anything at this point. And some of our trail folks have been moving over to help out with the develop rec stuff because, you know, we realize that's where people are now for sure. And, you know, in our develop rec sites, and the highway corridor rest stops going down towards the coast. And we're gonna just have to play it by ear. If we lose more people or not, if just attrition. But our stance is gonna be to lean more towards the develop recreation than towards trails. Because the trails, you know, if people have to hop logs, so be it. We can't, if we can't get it all, that's what's gonna suffer, is our, trail systems. And, that's something we can pick up later and then they'll be right back into shape for the most part. So it'll be the logs not getting cut off and this winter slides not getting cleaned, that type of thing. But that's kind of our approach on what we're gonna be doing this summer and what we're doing right now.
Francisco asks.
Yep, so I'm gonna take those questions go to me, Kelly. Any of
Okay,
those questions go to me. So
Okay.
we have not officially, I don't have an answer for you on how much staff or if, where that stands. You are probably aware some of those things are playing out in court. And so it is way too soon for us to have a definitive answer for you for, how much staff we may have lost. All of those things are being settled, at a level, that's not local. I can tell you, as Mike said, the Shasta Trinity National Forest is committed to keeping our recreational opportunities available to the public. We know how important that is to Trinity County. Those numbers didn't have to be, you know, it's great to have the numbers, but we're well aware of how many people come in to recreate in Trinity County. And I and the forest will be adjusting our staff as needed to make sure we meet those needs and keep those facilities open to the extent that we possibly can. That also includes adjusting some of our staff. If you hadn't noticed, the Burnt Ranch, for instance, campground has been getting a lot of cleanup with some of our fire folks have been helping out with that. And that's something that we expect to continue as well. We started kind of triaging what these impacts might be late last fall when we found out that we wouldn't be hiring any temporaries. So that is also factoring into some of this triage of what services may be lessened. But at this point, Mike hit the nail on the head. We are not planning on closing any of our facilities. We're well aware of how important they are. So, but having a strategic plan to address what what may happen in the near future, we're working towards that.
Okay, Tara, anything else for Shasta Trinity update?
I think that's probably as much as I have for you. I do want to say we're really looking forward to being a direct contact for the lake. We realize that and that's why we have the change, is that it was a clunky way to manage geographically a feature that's here in Trinity County. So we're really looking forward I'm looking forward to getting out on the lake and having a good reason to do it. So I got that going for me. But appreciate this group and the feedback that you get. We get. I've got lots of good notes here. And I can tell you that Mike and his staff and his crew are working really hard to make sure that you guys have whatever amenities and whatever improvements. And these guys are really responsive. They take a lot of pride in our facilities, including our trails. And the difference between the condition of our facilities and our trails from today and about 5 years ago is significantly better. And that's in large part due to the work that Mike's doing and his crew. Along those lines, I do have one other update for you on a staffing. I can tell you definitively that Brenda Tracy has retired. And she is, if you didn't know, she's a public services staff officer out of the Reading office for the forest. And I'm thrilled to be able to tell you that one of the people that will be helping to carry that workload is, especially on the rec side, is one Sally Cousins, who's very familiar with the things that we have going on the west side. So we're looking forward to having Sally helping us out in a different role to keep our recreation and public services program moving forward.
Cool.
All
Yeah,
right, thank
that's what I
you,
thought.
Tara. Any questions for Tara? Not seeing any, Tara. Thank you very much.
Kelly?
Oh,
Yes.
Right.
Would it be a benefit to get the collaborative to put together a letter to the board and our representatives supporting the Forest Service and the BLM and the recreational side of the situation, just because of their involvement in the size of the acreage, and all that stuff. I think it's important that, and I don't know, maybe that's in the process, but if it's not, something we should undertake, just because of the commitment that this county has due to the recreational opportunities that the Forest Service brings in here for turning over tax dollars and all that stuff.
Yeah, I'm not certain about what the focus of it was, but it seems to me that the Board of Supervisors had already put together a specific letter of support that was specific to the forest, and I don't remember what the focus of that was, but I can look into that. That would be something, what you're suggesting is that'd be something that the rec committee would have to recommend to the larger collaborative group.
I think that's our process.
And so is that something, I guess, collectively that we want to do? And I'm looking at Carol.
And Pat, yeah, I think that's a great idea, Pete, because truly, for the North Lake, the Forest Service is a big economic driver. And so, if for some reason in some future iteration, recreation staff was decreased to the point where they might have to start closing some of the facilities, that would affect us. And so, yeah, I think maybe I would like to have the Recreation Committee put an item on the collaborative agenda to, discuss sending a letter or request to the Board of Supervisors about supporting the Forest Service recreation activities. And BLM, definitely. I mean, it's great that the fire, public safety people aren't cut, but the recreation people are just as important. So I would like to have that on the agenda if that's the consensus of the larger group.
Is that something that the rec committee should draft up to present to the full, collaborative, or is this just a discussion item and then maybe that letter of support would kind of follow that endorsement from the full committee?
So we've been talking to Jill and stuff. They have some other draft letters they were considering, the Shasta, sending something similar to what Shasta County sent and stuff. And I think the conclusion so far has been things are so much up in the air. They're so nebulous. It's hard to write a letter, so maybe in another month we would be able to be more specific about, what the potential impacts are or what we want to do. I don't know. I would think it would just be a discussion item.
Okay.
And I guess the question would be in that consideration and discussion as to who the target of that letter of support would be sent to. Is that the chief, the new chief of the Forest Service, or is that going to the representatives, or I guess they're
all the above,
or all the above?
Yeah, we've had those same questions come up, and it's like, again, you don't know exactly who to write to yet, even. Yeah.
Okay.
Because we know if the Board of Supervisors already sent a letter, Kelly, we should know what the content of that letter was.
I can look into that. Yes. Yep.
Yeah, I recall it was in the journal, I believe.
I think so too.
Yeah, maybe Francisco knows.
Yeah.
Carol, one of the things I wouldn't want to wait till we get to specifics. I think if that water is going to go under the bridge and it's going to be too late. I think if we could emphasize how important the recreational component is to this county, when we don't have to get into specifics, but just a reminder of how critical it is, and keep it in a general sense. And then down the road, if we need to follow that to specifics, well, we could do that too.
Yeah.
I agree. I just, right now I don't think Pat or I are volunteering to write a letter to propose to the collaborative. So I think the collaborative, if they wanted to do this, it just takes a couple days to write a letter and send it out to them to sign off on, so I don't see that there's going to be delay if it has to go to the collaborative next month anyway.
It'd be
Next week.
It's next week.
Sorry, next week. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but I think that would be the process too. I mean, we can have that discussion next Friday. And then if it's the will of the group to get that together, then I think we can use our brain trust to put together something, drafted and then have that sent out off, and then basically, tacit acceptance of that would then lead to us forwarding that on to the CAO's office for
Maybe
the
get
Board of
that,
Supervisors.
get the letter that's already been sent. And
Yeah.
share it with everyone.
I can do that too,
Yeah, have that available. For
Right.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
The real trick always becomes getting it on the Board of Supervisors agenda.
Right.
So
Yeah, their next meeting is Tuesday. So we wouldn't be looking at, it'd be like it'll be about 3 weeks before
the
I think
first meeting,
before it's,
probably.
is it the first? I guess because the March 31st is the Monday, so it'll be on the first, it'd be 2 weeks, yeah. Before it could potentially get on the next agenda.
But what might help is at least giving some advance warning to whoever our Board of Supervisor person is on the collaborative
Heidi?
and
That's
Trent,
Heidi.
That's Heidi, yeah.
that this could be coming down the pike.
Yep, and yeah, that we can do.
Okay, I think we're a wrap on oh,
Sorry.
Tara's got her hand up. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Tara.
sorry. So one, Mike's already cut you off. Things are, and things change a lot, right now. They have been changing a lot, and, Carol hit the nail on the head. It's, all I can let you know is that, Trinity County and making sure that we, take care of things from a recreational standpoint is going to be important to us. Again, remember, we knew last fall we were not going to be having temporaries, and so we've been starting down this road. I don't have a great crystal ball that can tell me, I can just tell you what our priorities are. And our priorities are going to be to reduce the risk to our communities from wildfire and to provide recreational opportunities that are so important to the economy in Trinity County. I do have a question for you, Carol, and the rest of the group. I know on the doggone it, Trinity Camps project, we have an agreement that we were going to look at one of those campgrounds logged before we went and did the next one, and I stand by that. What I wondered was, does that same, so I have other campgrounds around other parts of the lake as well that we could put into a contract. So when we originally talked, we talked about Tannery and Hayden, but what's your understanding? Hayward, thank you. Are we expecting to wait on any other campground treatments or just the one at Hayward? So that's a question, because I need to know if we need to get out and start prepping those other contracts, or if the expectation is that we won't prep those other contracts until Tannery Hayward is complete, which would mean sometime after the campground closes in the fall. So I'm just checking on to make sure I understand the agreement appropriately.
So what we talked about at the collaborative was the 4 most used campgrounds. So Tannery, Hayward Flat, Alpine View, and Minersville. So we weren't going to proceed with Alpine View or Minersville till we had done Hayward Flat, and then we weren't even going to log Tannery till we saw what happened at Hayward Flat. The other ones,
Yes, and that's
Yeah, the
I'm sorry,
other
go ahead.
campgrounds, so the other campgrounds that are lesser used, that were in the project, those we were not so concerned with campers being shocked by the difference in the tree canopy.
Okay, so that's Tannery, Hayward Flat, Alpine View, and Minersville are the ones that were your, let's wait and see how the first one comes out. That's what, and I apologize, it's been a minute and I'm getting older, so, okay, so those four. And, but, but we're okay to move forward on the other ones, incorporating kind of our on-site discussions that we had out there anyway. Is that appropriate?
Yes, and I had a question about that when we got to the Trinity Camps update, which is my understanding is still that they are not going to log Hayward Flat until August or September. Is that correct?
That's my understanding. We asked them to wait until we were done with the campground. If that, or sorry, till we were done using the campground and people camping there, or close. And so if that changes, I will let you know, but I'll double check with the contract and the contracting officer. I know we've done the airport work. So
Yep.
I was excited we got it and did that. And I know we have Tannery is subject to agreement pending Hayward getting done. So contractually, it's set up to be exactly like we talked about. And I will follow up on the specific timing. But the logger has been very conscientious working with us thus far.
Okay.
Who's the logger, Tara?
Oh, I knew you were going to ask me that. I think
Darrow?
Dara,
Yeah.
Keith Dara. His yeah, he's I've worked with him in the past in my old job. He does good work. I saw Sarah had joined, so if I'm Sarah, feel free to pipe into this conversation whenever you would like. But that's my recollection. Okay, so I appreciate the getting on the same page there, and I will chat with Cody and see if there's any other contracts that we can get out this year.
Morning,
Okay,
everyone. Well, I was in the midst of closing my office with the weather, and Joe tried to get on, but apparently that didn't work. So apologies for the delay, but here I am.
Very good, Sarah. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. So that's good timing because NRA is up next on our agenda. So do you have anything for us this morning?
Boy, howdy, it's hard to come in the middle without any idea of what's been said before. I will say, did y'all talk Minersville already or not yet?
No.
Okay.
Nope.
Did you talk general staffing picture, that kind of stuff, Tara?
Yes, we talked about the fact that we don't actually know for sure what's going to happen, and a lot of those things are happening in court. And that we are prioritizing keeping all of our recreational facilities open that we possibly can. And on the west side, that includes our fire staff helping out or doing whatever we can to make sure we meet those needs. We do anticipate there may be some facilities that have less services than they had in the past. But those would be probably the ones that were most remote. So we talked about some of those things. But it's just too soon to have a really fleshed out plan because things are changing all the time. So that's what I had shared with them. And the only other thing I would add, Sarah, before you get going is, and for the group, we talked about the transition. I do want to let you know that Sarah and I have agreed that as far as the reporting out, that's starting in April, the TRMU side, Mike and I will be doing the reporting out for this meeting and with the board and everything else, anything lake related. So even though the transition won't be complete until May, we'll put on an extra pair of shoes and start reporting out on the NRA piece beginning in April. And Carol and I talked about who should she contact if something happens. We let her know about that, or if she had concerns, that'll start coming to us. And then also I let them know about Brenda's retirement and that Sally will be helping out a bit on some of the rec stuff. So now you're up to speed. on what you missed. That's play by play in rapid fashion. So there you go.
Thank you, Tara. All right. I'll jump into Minersville as the area with the most common interest at these meetings. And I'll see if I can pull up the agenda and hit on any other pieces as well. So making really good progress on the Minersville boat ramp design. I am pleased to report for I think you maybe see me with some more, like kind of mixed expressions on my face. And today it is a smiley face expression in terms of where we are at with the design on my front. I've been doing a lot of work with our forest engineer, and thank you to Tara for her support on this as well as we move into the transition. Looking at the parking, because I know that was an area of concern at the public meeting. I think we are going to be in a better place with the parking with the latest version of the design I am seeing. So what needs to happen next is that this design needs to get finalized on our end, which I see happening in the next 2 weeks, assuming we are not shut down. I think that will happen within the next 2 weeks. And then it needs to go to the Division of Boating and Waterways to be approved, since they are the funding agency. And once we have that approval from them, we can really start communicating out the design to everyone and beginning our environmental review process. So I think we are worlds closer to kicking off that NEPA process and sharing out that design than we were even a month ago. So I would say good news on the Minersville front.
So,
Thank you, Sarah.
I apologize for sounding like a broken record, but so this was the same thing we heard in January, that we would have the revised design done by the end of January. So now revised design done by the end of March. Yeah.
I've seen a lot of designs that don't hit the mark, Carol. So it's not the only, so there have been revised designs that were delivered that then didn't hit the mark. And I knew that you guys wouldn't be happy with. And so I pushed those back because I was not going to say, let's move forward on something that would make people unhappy at Minersville. And I at least have enough experience with y'all and your interests and needs to try and not do something that's wrong. That's as wrong as what was presented to me. So that it was my goal.
Well, I mean, I definitely appreciate that. I'm just, we've been at the 60% design level since at least September. And so I'm just trying to figure out, when you think we will have when you say final design, what is the next design level? Is it 90%?
Design is the 90%. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I absolutely share your frustration with the process and the time and the number of times it has taken to get this closer to right. So absolutely message heard on that front. Tara?
Carol and all, just want you to know the latest revision we had. So the first one didn't have the lower parking, and the county made it very clear to us that wasn't what they wanted. And the next one that Sarah got, they spent a lot of time on, but we got it and it had 4 parking spots. And to Sarah's credit, she's like, that's not gonna work. That is absolutely not gonna work. These people, that the 4 is not enough. They they had drive-throughs and things like that. And it's like, they know how to back a trailer. So she said, I need more than 4. Go back to the drawing board. And so she has been advocating strenuously for what the public said during your meeting. And so trying to balance getting what the public wants and staying under the budget threshold is not something we can crank out. And working with a third-party contractor just makes it a little bit more difficult. But it's taken this long. We don't want to just, I was thrilled to see Sarah not go, well, there's 4 and the plans are approved and moving forward on that, because we don't want to give you guys less than what you're hoping for. Now, she's got a needle thread between the budget and the plans, but that was my contribution as well. I was thrilled that Sarah pushed it back and said that this won't meet the public's need out there. So it is delayed some more. but we're getting closer to what you want as a finished product. Thanks,
Well,
Sarah.
thank you. Yeah, I appreciate all that. I was just trying to get an idea of, timeframes and status. So thank you. And Pat has a question.
So Sarah, do you envision that this plan will likely require some compensating
Treatment.
stormwater quality treatment to satisfy the water board?
Yes, I think that will be part of the picture here.
And are the engineers, is that part of the 60% design, or that comes later?
That comes later. We don't identify the compensation within the engineering design for the boat ramp. We will be looking at that as part of the overall package for our environmental review in
Gotcha.
terms of identifying some of those areas where we may compensate, mitigate, whatever the correct
Yeah.
word is, that I'm not a permitting expert on that front.
Well, I think we may have some ideas of places that might help. So when it gets to be that, when you start talking about that, maybe we could have just a little subgroup meeting to talk about some of those ideas.
That would be fantastic. Wherever we can work on the front end to find those areas that we are all in alignment on, I think that will help move this process forward with the water board.
Yep, can do.
Great.
I have one question regarding that for our local knowledge base. When you say the potential of 4 parking spaces, what is usual usage for the boat ramp as it is now? So I'm looking at Carol and Pete.
We don't
I mean,
want
they
to
can-
there.
I've seen as many as,
Department of Boating and Waterways has a guideline for the number of spaces per the ramp design. And we've got exemptions from that to accommodate us getting that low water ramp in there. And, we're dealing with topography, unstable soils and everything. So there has to be some give. And I just need to compliment Tara on, just helping move this thing along. I mean, I've been involved for 10 years on it, so it's been a long road. And so there's really those have been modified, Kelly, I guess is the best thing I can describe.
I'm just asking, I'm wondering on an average weekend day in July, is there 30 cars down?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's
So-
the purpose. That's
So I'm gonna interrupt again, sorry. During our meeting, Sarah, who again has been advocating hard to get you guys what you're looking for, produced a really great Google picture that showed very clearly how all of you all have been utilizing that boat ramp. It showed all of the boats and trucks, the trailers, herringbone going right up the ramp. And so she showed them very clearly, this is exactly how they've been using it. This is the type of use they would like to have. I, again, want to say that, we're really clear on how you've used it. It's just threading the needle to what can we accommodate given the ramp improvements and the soils and the budget. So, I appreciate, the acknowledgement. All I did was, get behind Sarah and push with her. Poor Sarah's been pushing this rock for a while, and I'm happy to get to come in at the end and help push too. So, we've had multiple meetings with the engineers, with the forest supervisor to get this process unstuck. And again, I was like, how do we typically use this? And Sarah had a picture brought up and showed all of those boats and trailers, or trucks and trailers parked exactly the way you described it. So the reason I'm with Sarah, I feel better right now than I have throughout this process. I feel like we're real close to the top and finally making significant progress to get you what you all are expecting and hoping for. It won't be perfect. It won't be exactly what you want. It's not going to be you know, it's not gonna be 30 spots that are, you know, available to you all the way up it's just, that doesn't work out with the budget or the engineering design, but we're getting closer to what you want. Sarah, I cut you off
So-
17 times. I'm so sorry.
Fair.
Hey, Sarah, just real quick, what confidence level do you have with regard to state approval? So you said kind of the next step is it goes to the state for review and approval. Any concerns there? Or has there been consultation with them prior to sending the final to them to kind of get a read on where they're at?
I'm not, I would say less confident on the state approval piece. I am confident on the ability to have the conversation with them and try and
Center.
those concerns.
Audio.
I'm not sure what concerns they have. You know, they work with boat ramps.
Sarah, your audio is a little
Yeah,
off.
your audio's kind of,
Okay,
there you go. Yep, better.
is that better?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's better.
I'm gonna be real close here.
Okay.
Okay, I would say less confident just because I don't know their process that well. We had what we did for the 30% design, but that's a less specific design, so it was I think a lesser standard of review perhaps than when you're getting to that 60% design and they're really applying their criteria. So I've never been through a 60% design review with the state and I don't quite know what to expect, but we've had good support for Minersville from the state so far, good relationships. You know, I think they are in the same kind of budget picture that we are in the federal government right now. And so we're going to be really looking at you know what the parking piece does to the budget and how we can thread the needle of providing what people want while still being cost conscious, and creative ideas that you all have presented on how to do that will play into that conversation. So
Very good.
Jim, they've been extremely supportive and cooperative at every turn.
All right.
Karen Dills, who is the person in charge of that section of boating and waterways, was at the public meeting we had up in Trinity. Karen's been involved in it for a long time, so.
Good. So
I think,
you sound fairly confident then maybe
you know,
that.
I don't think we're gonna get any roadblocks unintentional at that level.
Good.
no, I don't think they have any interest in getting in the way of this project. I think the only thing that we are going to really be focused on is that budget piece and how we make this work given the economic environment and the condition of the state and federal budgets. So that's just going to be the conversation piece. I is my guess, is not right. It's my guess. I don't speak for them and I don't have their agency, you know, blessing on what I just said, but
Good.
that is just my personal guess.
Very
But,
good. Carol.
well, as Pete said, DBOW, the Department of Boating and Waterways, has been very helpful. I think where the concern is and what Pat was talking about is the Water Quality Control Board, because meeting the water quality control standards when you're putting pavement under a lake is where we're going to have to, you know, deal with that. So, and they have not been as cooperative as DBOW. So that's the issue.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, good discussion.
Good point, Carol. Thank you for that clarification.
Anything else on Minersville or NRA? Close out. All right, thank you again, Sarah, for joining us and giving us an update on important issues that this committee I know has been tracking for quite some time.
And well, Bowerman Barn is up next on the agenda. So before Sarah, can we?
Well, Carol, I did want to circle back here to Laura. She did put in the comments there that she had a few items that she wanted to
Yeah, I thought of
bring to our attention. So Laura,
yeah, I
before
thought
we
of a
move on-
few positive notes.
Good.
One is I wanted to give a shout out to Monique actually, and there's like a Facebook group. I'll share my screen here. They clean up roads in Trinity County. And Monique is on this group. And then I just want to give kudos to my folks. I don't know, just a pat on the back, I guess. But we got some rocks out there, and I don't know, it just is a really good example of the like small stuff that the community is out there cleaning up, and then when they partner with us, we can sometimes follow up with rocks or whatever it is to try to preclude dumping. So that was the first thing I just wanted to give a shout out to. And then the other thing I wanted to shout out was the Bigfoot Adventure Challenge is starting. So I'm sure some of you know about this. I'll send these in the chat. There's posters that you guys could print and have at your respective places. Send them to people you know, whatever. There's routes in Reading, Mount Shasta, and Weaverville. I know personally last year I was up in the Weaver Basin hiking more up there than I ever have just because I was trying to black out on this Bigfoot challenge. And I know I was supporting the bakery there while attempting to do that. So yeah, it's I think a great tourism thing, kind of local tourism, bringing people up from Reading area into the Trinity County area. So if anyone has any questions about the Bigfoot challenge, or if you want to get some of the printed passports to have at your respective places, let me know. I can put you in touch with the folks who print the like kind of printed passports so that you can give them out at events or at front desks or whatever it is. But I will send these posters, and feel free to plaster them around town. I think this is in the community forest, probably. So yeah.
That particular cleanup area where you guys did the installation, if I remember correctly, was up on Lewiston Road.
Yeah,
near
old
the
highway.
The old
Yeah.
highway.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. That's a good group.
Very good. Well, thank you for
Okay.
those positive reports, Laura.
Yeah. Okay, I'll stop sharing now. How do I do that? Okay.
All right, thank you. So, okay, Carol, actually, before we get to Bowerman Barn, there is Trinity Camps on there. I know there's a brief, reference conversation. Anything else, Sarah, that you wanted to address on Trinity Camps? For the good of the group here? Okay, shaking her head. Any questions on Trinity Camps? Okay, we are now at Bowerman. Carol.
Well, I was wondering, the couple months ago, Pete had submitted the paperwork, and so I was wondering if there's a status on the funding for the engineer to do the foundation repair design. Yeah, you guys were trying to hire a contractor, hire an engineer.
Yep, and you may have heard about some, I don't know if Tara spoke to any of the contracting or agreement things that we have seen in the agency before I got here.
Well, that's RAC funding. It's
Yep,
funding the RAC.
Yep.
Yep.
Did you speak to any of the contract stuff, Tara? Okay. So we do, please, Tara, correct me if I'm wrong, because this is one of those like things that is changing a lot that I am not always able to keep as full track of, but I believe they're coming up with a process to be able to put in new requisitions soon, new contracts soon, but it's only for certain categories. Can you save me here? Because I think
I'm actually
we
fortunate
can't put it in yet.
Yeah, we
Well,
have
it was
Monique,
already submitted.
Oh, it was. Okay.
It was already submitted according to Pete. He submitted it to IA, somebody.
Okay.
Yeah, so remember you guys missed the deadline.
We actually didn't miss the deadline, but the contracting office wasn't able to complete it last year, and they told us we had to resubmit this year. No, I
Okay.
believe so. If we did resubmit,
Yes.
we resubmitted it. They did not process it, and it got frozen with the new turnover. And I believe that those types of things are not moving forward yet as new contracts from our central, because procurement is all centralized, and they have not moved forward with that.
So they're not, even though the funding is not federal, well, it's federal, but it's
Federal, yeah.
it's RAC funding. It's not BIL or IRA or one of those other acronyms. It's funding from the RAC. So even though it's funding from the RAC, they can't proceed with that contract either. What if the barn falls down?
I'll jump in. I
Please,
know
Tara,
that,
contracting is
yep,
not my
yep.
strong area.
Yeah, no, you're good. And then if I get off the rails, Monique will, put me back on. So, agreements, there was a point in time, no agreements were moving forward, no new agreements. As we kind of tried to figure out how things were gonna shake out. Contracts, existing contracts have been, moving forward. New contracts were just kind of being, were paused momentarily, so give us a chance, Carol. You bring up a really good point. These are RAC funds related to secure rural schools. So we can we'll get a hold of that contracting officer and find out the status of that package, and I can respond back out to this group. But there's just been some tracking the agreements and the contracts and the all of the funding that's been going with it. I think the agency and the department kind of took a minute to kind of look through everything and validate. And so I don't know that we have received yet a status update on that contract, but things are starting to move better now. We had there was a call this morning, so we're starting to get more information, and we can dig into that and get you an update. Long way to say that, but we'll dig into that and get you an update. And you bring up a good point that it's RAC funded.
Yeah, because
that should be
I
beneficial.
mean, I guess the question is, are all the other RAC, pending contracts being frozen, or is it just this one?
We're getting paid on ours.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's so they were paused and kind of evaluated is the best way I can explain what was going on. So it's likely, Carol, that this has made some progress. We just have to check on it. Everyone's kind of been all over the place trying to track all the things going on. So thanks for bringing this back up to the top, and we will we'll get in touch with the contracting officer and see where this is at.
Okay, I appreciate that. Because so you guys know, so we got the $75,000 from the RAC. Then Forest Service decided that they needed to do the engineering study. And so the RAC amended the application so the Forest Service could use some of that money to hire the engineer. And then the balance, whatever that is, would be paid towards actual implementation. And so I had talked to the McConnell Foundation about funding what was needed now to cover the Forest Service costs for implementation, since you took that money out ahead of time for design. They can't pay for design. So they just called me last week again, because the March 5th was when the latest, their spring and fall grant applications are due, to ask if we were pursuing that. So they're still interested in funding. So that's why I'm still trying to figure out the status, because yeah, because I talked to them and they're interested. And if I kind of end up saying, well, never mind, I need to know. So that's kind of why I'm asking. So any updates would be fantastic.
Fair. We'll dig into it and get something to you. Well, this is Friday. I was gonna say this week, but even I'm like, it's Friday at noon. So I'll get something to you. Well, provided we are working next week, I will in fact get you some early next week. That's just a call to a contracting officer, and we'll work with Pete. And I appreciate and I know Sarah and I have chatted about it. We appreciate you tracking that extra piece, Carol, and the McConnell Foundation part as well. Carol, I'm starting to think your list might be as long as mine. You've got a long, a long and lengthy list, but I sure appreciate the heads up on that.
Thank you.
Yep, I'll let you know by Wednesday of next week unless I'm not able to because of a budget gap in funding.
All righty, good discussion on Bowerman. Anything else before we move on?
Oh, mm.
Okay, not seeing any. We're now moving on to partner updates.
Real quick, I was
Yeah.
just gonna say Sarah, I'm sending you an email right now that might have more information, but I'm also not as familiar with contracts and am specifically checking in on the Secure Rural Schools Act for agreements, but I think the guidance will be the same. But the email will have a little bit more information for contract specific stuff. So I'll forward it. I just don't want to interpret incorrectly.
Very good.
Thanks.
Okay, partner updates. Any update on North Lake Trail Subcommittee? I think that would be Pat.
Nope.
Okay,
No updates.
Ascend Wilderness. I know we got a report, right?
We received a report from Amanda Berger late yesterday, which I sent out this morning. I'm not gonna read it. It's relatively lengthy, but it sounds like they're preparing. Not only are there funding issues with regard specifically to the direct agreements that they hold with the forest. There's been a number of others that they've received, grants that they've received that are also reliant on them. A lot of that funding, and as of the time of that writing, it looks like they're going to be really cutting back on their overall operations over the summer, which is unfortunate at this stage. But you can read more detail in that report that she provided, that I sent out this morning.
All right. Anything on Ascend Wilderness? Moving on, Trinity Trails, anybody have anything for us? Not seeing any?
Well, Susan's there. We got the LaGrange Classic coming up in June.
We're making plans for the bike race. That's what's happening.
Okay,
And we've been affiliated with the Bigfoot Challenge since it began. Sally Cousins and Mike McFadden turned us on to them, and we've been dealing with them. And we're not the only ones. It's some of the people on the board there are Trinity High School graduates, so we're glad that they included us in that, and we get new people riding our trails. But yeah, we're well aware of the Bigfoot Challenge, and we're happy to be part of it.
very good. Thank you. Susan, anything else?
I just wanted to say, Laura, if you can send those that information through Kelly, any posters or whatever, is that what your plan was? Because I'll forward those to TTA so they can distribute them as well.
I just downloaded them from Laura's posts into the chat, and I can send those out later today.
Okay, thank you, Kelly.
Yep.
All right, anything else on Trinity Trails? Not seeing any. Nobody from the Watershed Research and Training Center, correct? No. Okay, Kelly, you're up.
Okay, I know that over the past couple of months, we had a few dry enough spells to have some of our folks out working on our RAC agreement with trail maintenance, primarily focused on the Ware Ditch, Junkins Ditch, and Upper Howe Ditch. I was out there this past weekend and got to see that they had been taking out a lot of hazard trees that continue to drop off. And so they did a lot of great work on that. They haven't been doing any tread work because it's been a little bit too wet to really focus on that. But they have been preparing to put, we've been working with Robbie and planning a small, low profile bridge basically across that one stretch that's on the Upper Howe, that's kind of right near where that rock wall is, where they did the reroute. And I was glad to see that most of the reroutes that they've designed are now pretty well in use, except for like maybe one. But that particular spot's wet every time that I go up there this time of year. And so I've been sort of putting a little bit of focus on them about getting that low little 18-inch bridge across that stretch of the ditch in place. So that's, I think, one of their next priorities to getting that completed. We have been asked to sponsor the free access to the Loudon Park pool during the LaGrange Classic. So we'll be sponsoring that again. I guess that was very popular last year. So we'll be doing that again. And then we were also requested to do a reprinting of the bandana. And so I need to have a closer look at our budget for the potential of getting that redone, but we'll be redoing a number of the maps. There's a number of the maps that were done now. I think it was 2 years ago. I don't think it was last year. And there was a number of still not completed, like CV ditch wasn't done at the time, and the middle section of sweepstakes wasn't done at the time. So we were going to probably redo a number of the maps with the current completed trail segments. So we'll be working on all of that and trying to get all that stuff done before LaGrange Classic is done. And I don't remember whether I reported this or not, but we did get the final kiosk installed and completed for Mackenzie Gulch. So that with a lot of help from folks from the forest and their excavator and all that stuff. So thanks for the assist. I use that trail quite a bit, so it's kind of a point of pride whenever I walk by there that we actually got something tangible in the ground. So that was pretty exciting. And I think that's the end of my report currently.
Okay, thank you, Kelly. Any questions for Kelly?
I might have a little addition, this seems like a good spot to throw it in. Other work that we've done lately on the basin trails, our guys are out there also helping with the log outs and stuff, but we're going to be doing some classes on falling trees and stuff. That's going to attack a lot of the ones that are still standing on the campground trail. And currently we've been running our Smart Center trail portion of their cruise on the LaGrange extension. So I don't believe we'll have that ready for race day, but we are plugging away at it and it's coming along.
Good, cool. Oh, one other thing, one little quick go back. I know that we're coordinating with the Cal Poly Humboldt folks that are getting some interpretive signage together. We're going to be providing them with existing signage that we see for like Sykes Shaft and some of the other fire ecology and some of the other ones that primarily are located currently in and around Mackenzie Gulch Loop. So there's a level of continuity, and I think they're doing, an Al Browder one and a few others. So we've been working with Cal Poly Humboldt and some of the folks over there with some of their RAC funding to get a little bit more interpretive signage out on the trails.
Cool. Very good. Thank you, Kelly. All right. Any other questions for Kelly? Not seeing any. Agenda building. Any agenda items we want to make sure get on our next meeting that we don't already kind of have as standing agenda items? I know there was some commitment to give an update on the courtesy docks and kind of how that's gelling with, the ramps opening versus getting docks in. So maybe we'll even get information in advance of the meeting on that. I don't know. We'll see. But that one we'll definitely try to get an update for everyone. That'll be pretty close to the height of voting season, so good timing. Anything else for next meeting, agenda-wise?
Not that I can think of.
Okay.
Okay, one thing I would like to follow up on is I did write back to Joe McNeely and I asked him about the rock carol.
Uh-huh.
That was remnants from that, the bridge project, and it says at this time, there's no plan to move it. It is stockpiled for any future state needs.
Huh.
That's what he stated.
Just because, if at some point, once they stabilize the channel, that rock could be used to stabilize the boat ramp, the Forest Service boat ramp, if they could work out a deal, I guess. Anyway.
Carol, don't give Mike
Okay.
any ideas. He's got a trailer and he's not afraid to use it. So you
Those are
gotta-
big, those are big boulders. Yeah, they're the
Yeah,
size
which
of
are hard to come by in Trinity County. Yeah.
The one thing I would say that just as a piece of housekeeping, since I'm not hearing any other specific additional agenda items, is that with the closure of this facility slated for August 31st, we will likely be able to get in for May 9th and July 11th, but we'll be looking for an additional venue for hosting these meetings in the future. So that I will keep people updated on that as it develops.
Very good. Thank you, Kelly. Anything else before we adjourn?
Just
Not
in
seeing-
keeping with what we discussed earlier, that we'll start taking the lead for reporting out in April. Seeing as this is the March meeting, this will likely be Sarah's last
yeah,
meeting.
Yeah.
So really appreciate her and then the passing it off and coming showing up, even though it's snowing. It's snowing in up at Shasta Lake and in West Reading, or it was this morning. So really appreciate Sarah jumping on when you could. So
Yeah.
again, keep that information request coming to our side, and thanks, Sarah, for all your good work.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah, very much.
Sarah.
Definitely enjoyed all your hard work.
Thanks, Sarah.
Thank you. It's been really great getting to know y'all and work with y'all over the years, and certainly I'll still be around. So Tara and I are going to be working together a lot behind the scenes, and we will keep things moving in Trinity County because it's a collective effort on the Shasta Trinity right now. We're all pitching in to keep the important things moving. And so thank you all for your time and for your friendship.
Well, thank you.
Thanks, Sarah.
I think that is all we've got for today. So thank you all very much for your participation and contribution today. Have a great weekend.
Yes, thanks
Thank
everybody
you.
for joining today.
Take care,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
It's the